Hey friends, imagine this. One of the world's largest democracies is buying billions of dollars worth of oil from a nation sanctioned and isolated by the West, and they're not stopping, even after direct threats from a former US president. Why is India defying America over oil? Why would a country so close to the US risk everything from trade deals to diplomatic relations for a few barrels of crude? Well, the answer isn't just about energy. It's about power shifts, economic survival, and a quiet rebellion reshaping the global order. Let's dive in. Right after Russia's Ukraine invasion in 2022, the West, led by the US, imposed massive sanctions. They hoped to cripple Russia's economy by targeting its biggest revenue source, oil exports. But instead of collapsing, Russia found a new best customer, India. India, which once bought almost no oil from Russia, suddenly became its second largest buyer, grabbing discounts up to $30 per barrel. That's like walking into a fuel station and seeing a sign, half off today only if you don't mind global controversy. And here's the kicker, India didn't just buy cheap oil, it processed it into refined fuels and sold it to Europe. Yep, the same Europe that banned Russian oil was now indirectly burning it in cars, planes, and factories, via India. If this kind of deep dive interests you, don't forget to subscribe. Here on Mr. America, we dive deep into stories that mainstream media glosses over. Fast forward to 2025, and former U.S. President Donald Trump is back on the scene loud as ever. In a closed-door meeting, reported by Bloomberg, Trump warned allies like India, "Keep buying oil from Russia, and you'll face more penalties." But here's what Indian officials said in response. "We will continue to buy Russian oil based on our national interest. No apologies, no retreat." But why? Why would India openly defy America, even when threatened with sanctions? To understand that, you have to look at three things: India's economy, geopolitics, and history. India imports over 85% of its crude oil. With a population of 1.4 billion and growing demand, oil is a lifeline, not a luxury. If India were to stop buying from Russia, prices could jump by 15 to 20%, triggering inflation, rising transport and food costs, political backlash at home. In fact, the Indian government saved over $7 billion in 2023 alone by buying discounted Russian oil. That's enough to fund 3 years of India's rural employment program, which supports millions. So ask yourself, would any leader give that up over a foreign threat? Let us know your take in the comments. Should India prioritize global alliances or the wallets of its own citizens? India's defiance isn't just economic, it's strategic. With China rising, the West fracturing, and Russia pivoting eastward, India sees an opportunity to act independently. That's why India is strengthening BRICS ties, joining multilateral trade forums, and building its own oil payment systems outside the US dollar. Even during the BRICS Summit 2024, India pushed for alternative payment mechanisms using rupees, yuan, and even gold-backed settlements. They're not just buying oil, they're redefining who gets to control global trade. Imagine that, a world where oil is bought not in dollars, but in rupees, or a digital BRICS currency. It's not fiction, it's already underway. And if you've made it this far, maybe consider subscribing, because things are just getting interesting. India remembers the 1970s, when the US cut off aid and support during the Bangladesh War. It remembers how Russia stood by it during times of need, even when the world turned away. There's a deep-rooted strategic trust between Delhi and Moscow. Add to that the fact that Russia supplies 45% of India's defense imports, and you realize it's not just about oil. It's about security, memory, and independence. This story isn't just economic, it's emotional. Now here's the irony. While the US warns India, many American companies are still importing Russian oil-derived products from other countries. The global oil market is so interconnected, it's almost impossible to sanction completely. Meanwhile, Europe is struggling with high energy bills, and China is snapping up even more Russian crude than India. So, is the pressure on India really about oil, or is it about geopolitical obedience? Think about it. Meet Arav, a 34-year-old oil trader based in Mumbai. Before the Ukraine war, he dealt mostly with Gulf nations. Today, 80% of his contracts come from Russian-linked shipments. His business grew 200% in 2 years. But he also lives with fear that if secondary sanctions hit, he might lose access to US banking, insurance for ships, or worse. Still, he says, if I stop, someone else will do it. The world runs on oil, and we're all just trying to survive. That's the quiet tension behind every tanker leaving Novorossiysk for India. By the way, if you're curious about how oil markets work and want a great beginner's guide, I highly recommend the book The New Map, Energy, Climate, and the Clash of Nations by Daniel Yergin. It explains oil politics in plain language, just like we do here. Link is in the description. So friends, here's the final question. What if the real global revolution isn't being led by protests or wars, but by quiet oil tankers, rerouted bank transfers, and bold decisions by countries like India? What if we're witnessing a slow-motion realignment, one where diplomacy is measured in barrels, not speeches? India's refusal to stop buying Russian oil isn't just about saving money, it's about redefining its place in the world. Now it's your turn. Do you think India made the right call? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you appreciate this kind of research-driven, global perspective, don't forget to subscribe to Mr. America, because the world isn't just changing, it's transforming, one bold move at a time. Until next time, take care, stay curious.